Welcome back to December 19, 1944, where we are continuing the Battle of the Bulge. I just want to update from the last video. I don't remember where it was because I didn't go back and watch the video, but I'm assuming it was down here. I was trying out different strategies with these. Oh, I'm pointing to tanks you can't see. Let's try that again. I was moving these around to test them out, and I think I made some illegal moves with this group here. And that's fine. It's there now, but that does lead into another question, which was, what's the difference between strategic movement and non-strategic movement? Well, I went back and read the rules a little bit, which always helps if you read the rules. And my base understanding, and this is where I made the oops, is that with non-strategic movement, armor and mechanized forces can move 2 spaces as long as it's along a road. And I think I must have moved somewhere in here somewhere. I think it was these, without double checking my previous video, that I did a move and they didn't cross a road path. And that's a mistake on my part. Whoops. But that's really the biggest difference between strategic and non-strategic is 2 spaces for mechanized and the armor units, but still along a road. Whereas strategic movement, they can move up to 3. The German infantry and Allied infantry only move 1 normally, unless it's strategic movement, and then Allied infantry can do strategic movement, and that again is up to 3 spaces, but that all has to be along a road as well. So as long as there's roads, you can move multiple spaces. If there's no roads, you're just moving 1 space. And that makes sense. I'm fine with that because, in essence, these spaces are supposed to represent approximately 15 miles across. Therefore, that's a lot of distance to cover, so roads would make sense if you want to do a lot of traveling. And then strategic movement is just a way of saying that those units are putting, they're speeding along. And the Allied infantry, you could say, well, how can infantry move so fast? Well, you could just chalk that up to trucks. It's not represented in the game. Nothing says that they're using trucks, and that's just my narrative explanation for why they can do that. And why not the Germans? Don't the Germans have trucks? Probably do, but their fuel is going to tanks. So if a person wants narrative, because it's not written in the rules anywhere as to why, so I just make that up. So having made that up, let's take a look at the 19th. We have the 18th covered pretty well, I think. I was looking back to see if I missed anything. I think I got most of it, so we'll just go back to the sequence of play. There's a great sequence of play in the manual, and there's also one here on the player A chart. And normally I've just been playing off the one in the manual, but there's a player A chart, less for you to have to hold. So I'm just going to follow this one. We're past the first day, but we're going to start here. Start of day activities. The Germans still retain initiative from the 16th to the 22nd. So Germans will go first. Replace the time marker in the 5:30 box. I'm just going to do that here without shifting the camera all around to make that happen. Remove the activation cubes. That I will pause the camera and remove all those cubes so you don't have to watch that, because I'm sure it's exciting to someone, not me. We have removed the activation cubes. Now we're going to check for supply. 17th, the Allies have already done 2 checks, and I'm currently just looking over the board really quickly. They happen to have nobody surrounded right now. All the units I have on the board are clear open. In fact, the line of control is primarily all of Germany along the border here. Well, call it a border, but whatever you want to call that. Their line, if you will. Even down here, if I just move that real quick, because the rules state that if you have Allied units, for example, if it's along your friendly edge, they're in supply. And this is a friendly map edge, so that unit is in supply. And everybody else. I have 1 unit up here, 1 lone infantry unit, but again, it has a backup. So everything here has some kind of path out and towards a friendly spot. So we're good there. And the same thing for the Germans. No, currently no German unit is out of touch with a border. They can all trace complete lines back. So we're good. Then we're going to place the reinforcements. What do we got? Well, let's see. I will move the camera over for that. Let's see what's in store for the Americans. And the answer would be nothing. We've taken the top of the stacks, so this was the 18th, all the way out here, and then it goes directly to the 20th. There's also no reinforcements on the 21st. Nothing for the Americans this time. Maybe the Germans have something. And the survey says they get, not a stack, oh wait, that's 19th. Oh, they get, yeah, it is the 19th. Oh, they actually get quite a bit. Here comes the push that the Germans wanted. They get the 2nd SS Panzer, they get the 9th SS Panzer, and they get the 3rd Panzer Grenadier Divisions. These are all divisions, and they're all coming on the board. Well, let's find out where they're coming on the board at. Great. This is probably the push that the Germans needed. This is great. I was just talking to myself, you know, how I needed some more armor up north to make a push. And that's exactly where the 2nd SS Panzer is coming in from. They're coming in on spots A. I can pick either one. We're going to go ahead and take this middle spot because it just happened to be kind of in the open. There was nobody here, and they'll be able to make a push straight away into Elsenborn and try to take out the 4th Infantry. Because we have initiative, we can do that. Because if, knowing that this was the last turn, the American player could, just to be a pain, oh, you know what? I didn't realize nobody else was in here. I'm not sure when that happened. That technically then is no longer in German control. I don't remember when that happened, but there it is. Americans have that back. So Germany will have to push forward to try and take that back. But that's where the first reinforcement comes in. Let's see where the next one goes. And I should have looked ahead because they all come in on A. Excellent. So 3rd Panzer Grenadier also is in the A section, and so is the 9th Panzer. Decisions. I don't honestly think that the Americans would push through realistically. Just as far as a game, I could see them do that. But what we will do, because Germany has the initiative, they know that they'll get in there before the Americans could push out. So just to maintain a really strong front, we'll go ahead and put all those reinforcements here, and they'll just kind of, everything will spearhead through together. Well, there will be one turn of movement here, and then another turn later they can push through. So like this group here could probably push in first to try and put some casualties, and then followed closely behind by the rest of the reinforcements. Great. That's a lot for the Americans. After reinforcements, it says assign German fuel shortage on the 21st. We don't have that. On the 20th, assign replacement points. No replacement points available yet. It's only the 19th. And we've already done the German commando operation. Then it goes back to alternating turns. And according to the player aid, just a nice reminder, select a space and activate all your units not yet activated this day in that space. Active units may move, then active units in spaces with enemy units must attack. Finally, place activation cubes on all units activated this turn. You may pass instead of activating units if you are the non-initiative player, or all your units have been activated, or your opponent passed last turn. So let's do that. We're going to activate a space. So again, Germany is going to go and be bold. They're going to push up with the 6th and the 3rd Panzer Grenadier and the 9th. Nicely, since that is all mechanized at some point, if I was playing deeper into the game, that would be great to move along roads and do strategic moves. I haven't seen anything that really specifies the difference of the fact that this is mechanized infantry and this is leg infantry, other than they get to travel with those folks. So mechanically wise, I don't see anything different between infantry and armor. It's okay. The only difference I've seen mechanically would be in your attack or defense rolls where it says, does the defender have armor or does the attacker have armor? Then there's a -1 to your to hit roll. Other than that, it really doesn't matter if it's mechanized infantry or not. They can move. So I guess that's two mechanics they get. They're affected by armor, but they do get to move fast and keep up. This allows them to have infantry move at strategic pace. So I guess it's covered. That's fine. Well, let's see if I can put the tower. Yeah, we can. We can get that on camera. We'll go ahead and make the attacker rolls. Has 7 dice for the 2nd SS Panzer because they have the little plus sign next to the 6. And then they're hitting on 5s initially. And they also get +1 for being in an artillery supported space. And that is not an elite infantry or anything like that. That's going to be 6s. So 7 dice hitting on 6s for the 2nd SS. 3 hits. A lot of 10s. Great. Well, 3 hits is a fantastic start to that. I think they're just going to roll over the 4th Infantry. Then the 9th SS Panzer is only 6 dice, and they're hitting on 5s. And that's an additional 1. Yep, we're back to poor dice rolling. I shouldn't have to roll for the 3rd Panzer Grenadier, but they're there. They're contributing. They want to feel like they've contributed. They're hitting on 4s. And that is 2 hits for them. That brings it to a grand total of 6 hits to apply. Let's go ahead and check for the American return fire. They get 1 die, and they're hitting on 2s because there is attacking armor. And they rolled a 10. So not a good day for the 4th Infantry. First, the 4th Infantry is in the city. However, since they only have 1 strength point, they only get to take 1 defense point, if you will. So they reduce the number of hits by 5. If they were going to retreat, they could reduce the number of hits by 1, but that would still leave 4 hits to assign. I'm going to go ahead and say that they have been eliminated. And we'll go ahead, that's a victory point, so I'm going to put that on the eliminated allies portion of the German order of battle chart. And that brings the German victory points now up to 3. They've got a long ways to go to get 12. If we were really pushing north, we could probably get some. At this point, the Germans do have a decision to make. Do they get to break through? Let's go ahead and take a look at the breakthrough. That's at the back of the book here. I might have had an opportunity to break through before, but this looks like a good time. It is armor breakthrough bonus move. It wouldn't bring the mechanized, it sounds like. If an attack eliminates all defending units, surviving attacking armor units may move into an adjacent space regardless of control. If multiple armor units are eligible for breakthrough, they can advance into different spaces. Only 1 unit may break through across a given river. There's no river, and this is where I'm looking at to push. And breakthrough into 4 spaces is only allowed along a road. Breakthrough into an enemy-occupied space is allowed, and it does not trigger combat. Breakthroughs are not allowed during the German surprise turns. Easy peasy. And I think that's what I want to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to push through. It doesn't trigger attacks, it says. So they're going to sit there. And the Americans have a decision. They can fight, or they can, retreat or move out. I'm going to put this here because that is now back under German control. And the Americans, because it is the last turn and they're making a last stand, they're going to hold and they're going to attack. Go big or go home. Now the Americans are the attackers, which means we're going to have 2 defense for the Germans. All right, let's go for it. We're going to do the 9th Infantry first. They get 4 dice. And they have 3 to hit. It's going to be 2s to hit because there is attacking armor. So 4 dice hitting on 2s. No hits. Then the 7th Armor he gets to roll 5 dice, and they're hitting on 3s because there's attacking armor. 1 hit, and that's absorbed by the forest. That was their hurrah to try and hold on to something. That was also an activation. I'll put that there. But the Germans do get their return fires. That is 6 dice for the second SS. They don't get to use the red number. That's only when they're attacking. So as a defender, they're going to hit on 4s. They're actually hitting on 3s because there is defender armor, and they're outside of German artillery support. 7 dice hitting on 3s because I forgot the little plus sign. 1 hit. That's not good. Because they're going to... Well, actually, that's not bad at all because the defender, or I mean the attacker on the return fire, they don't get to absorb... They don't get terrain bonuses. That's actually pretty good then. Okay, we got 6 dice for the 9th SS Panzer, and they're hitting on 3s as well. 1, 2, 3 hits. 1, 2, 3. That is fantastic for the Germans. Not so fantastic for the Americans. The Americans were the attacker. This might be one of those where they go ahead and retreat to lessen the odds or the losses. Because 4 hits, that would be 2 step losses per. Both units have to retreat, and if they retreat, then it reduces the amount of hits by 1. So we'd only apply 3 hits, which, I mean, is better than applying all 4. And there's no victory points for that particular space. We might do that, but where do we retreat to as the Americans? I mean, I can go up here. This one's worth 2. So if I was going to hold a spot, that would probably be the one that I hold. I can then reinforce it, which off camera here you can almost see. The 30th Infantry could push forward and then help reinforce Verviers. I think that's what the American attacker will do. They'll reduce the hits by 1. They will apply 3, but they both can retreat out. That means we're going to take 2 hits to the 9th Infantry. I'm going to find their 2 side real quick, which is right here. And then we apply the 3rd hit to the 7th Armored. And they're active. That's their cubes because they were activated. Youch! That did not go well for the Americans. Okay, the activate. Well, I forgot to advance the time for the Germans, so that was the 700-hour move. Then the 8:30. It's on the 8:30 time, and we'll just push up. We can't do a strategic move simply because there's no road connecting here, which then is a little bad because I'm going to have to leave some of these folks behind. I'm going to activate this space and leave them here because I eventually want them to move. I don't see the need in moving them to a bunch of different spots when we're trying to move north. However, 1st SS Panzer is going to move forward. That way I have my maximum of 3, and then on the next day I'll be able to move 3 of these in there. I think we can do that. That I think would work out pretty good. Alright, that was another German completion. The American, I'm going to go ahead and move the 30th up, and they can strategically move, so they move 1 space. Even though it's across the river, there's no terrain or anything like that to worry about. No contested, no enemies. And they'll finish their move right there. And I'm going to go ahead while I'm thinking about it. Yes, it's obvious that that is under German control, but I like to remind myself only because then if there's a counterattack in, they will get the defensive bonus because they own the terrain. So that's good for them. Alright, I'm looking here. Well, they would get the bonus terrain either. This allows them to get the good defensive bonus. They'll be in the city because they own it. So they've moved in. Okay. So that was the Americans. That's fine. We got there's lots of German units here to do stuff with. Oh, there we go. I passed a couple. And we're just going to go right here. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. They have really terrible attack. They're just there to absorb hits for the armor. Oh, boy. I was going to bring... Here, you can barely see them on camera, the 150th Panzer. Because they can move 2 spaces. 1 and 2. And I'll let them attack. But that's 3 dice. That's horrible. And this space, because it was activated, we'll go ahead and push those 2 infantries because they can move 2, well, 1. So they'll be done. And here's the in anticipation of activation markers. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to see what we can do there. We really want to take out that, I guess that's Bravo. I don't think it's a regiment with armor, but that might be Bravo Company of the 9th Armor Division. Making a guess. I wouldn't even call that an educated guess. We'll start with the 12th Volksgrenadier, rolling 2 dice. They're hitting on 2s because the defender is armor. None. Alright. The 150th Panzer, rolling 1 die, hitting on 3. Nope. And then the 3rd Fallschirmjäger, 2 dice, hitting on 2s. Oh, you know what? I take that back. I forgot to add +1 because the icon is a little bit varied. I missed that. That one was totally a miss. I rolled a 4, and that would have been a hit. So that's 1 hit. It's a 4 because 4 minus 1 for defending armor +1, and I did roll 1 4. So this did score 1 hit so far, which is not enough to really hurt anything. I'm going to have to score 1 more hit from the Fallschirmjäger. And they're hitting on 3s because of the artillery support. And that's nothing. Alright, with only 1 success, that will be eaten up by the city. The city can absorb a maximum of 3, but since there's only 1 strength point on there, the terrain will only absorb 1 of those hits. And that was enough because only 1 hit. We're good there. I could say that the armor wants to attack, but that puts him in a really bad spot because then the defender can retaliate and he won't get the protection bonus. He's just going to sit there and harass the Germans. That sounds like a really good plan for the American player. Oh, I forgot to advance the time for Germany. So we're just going to move here a little bit further south. We have 2 strength points. We got a lot of strength points here. And that's enough strength points to push into Bastogne. Bastogne. Ooh, you know, instead of passing for the Americans, I did forget that I had the airborne units. We looked last time, if I had moved them a different route, I would have them in Bastogne on the 20th, which is needed because a lot of German armor has moved in. I think that German armor probably pushed through quicker than real life. But we're going to strategic move both of these airborne divisions. 1 space through Marsh maybe. 2 space through La Roche. And then 3rd space into Sabre. That will be their activation. And that's how they will get to Bastogne on the 20th. Then these 2 German armor will push in because they want to take Bastogne. And we're going to roll some dice. And none of that was on the camera. You're welcome. We'll just pretend you saw it. Just pretend. Just pretend. Use your imagination. Panzerlehr rolls 5 dice. They are hitting on 3s. There's no artillery support and there's defending armor. no hits. That is not a good start to this German attack on Bastogne. Maybe history will repeat. It will hold out well. Then the 2nd Panzer is rolling 5 dice. Did I roll 4 dice or 5? I don't know, but it scored no hits. We get 5 dice though for 2nd Panzer Division, and they're hitting on 4s because they attack with 5, -1 for armor defending. 1, 2, 3. 3 hits. Great. Yes, that is great. I'll tell you why here in just a moment. I guess that's both of the Germans there. I'll put their little activated cubes on. And then the 4th Armor returns fire. They return a furious volume of fire, rolling 5 dice. They're hitting on 3s because there is attacking armor. 1 hit. That's something though, and that is important. We will apply the German hits first. They will reduce the amount of hits by 2 since their strength is higher than the defending terrain. 1, 2. That means 1 hit gets through. Or I could retreat the American armor, because if I retreat the armor, I would reduce that hit by 1 more. That means they would take no hits, and then they would retreat back. I would retreat them back here. That way on the next day, all 3 of these 4 strength units could come in to try and crush them. Would it work? I don't know, but that's what we're going to do. That does give Germany right now, though, 2 victory points, and it puts them in a strong position to defend Bastogne. But, you know, it is what it is. All right, American is done, and we go back to Germany. So I'm thinking, what can I do to bring some reinforcements in here? I know exactly what we're going to do. Let me adjust my 2 VP points. 1, 2. We're not going to hit 12 VP. The board shows that on the 20th, if I could get 12 victory points, then that's a win for Germany. That's not happening. I'm not even close to 12. You would have to just be pushing hard and rolling well, and I've done neither of that. But what I am going to do for Germany is move the 116th Panzer Division, following roads, 1 road, space, 2, space, 3. And I did that only because if we were going to play out a day 20, that would be epic. Epic. Alright, Germany advances the time track. The Americans. I'm still playing defense with the Americans. I have no other American units on the board except for the 1st Infantry. Oh, and of course, this armor. What I could do, it's not a strategic move, but I can move this infantry in, and we can attack with both of those units and see if we can eliminate one of the German defenders. They'll be defending at that point. That could work out. We're going to do it. We're doing it. Do it. 4 dice for the Americans. Gone backwards. 4 dice for the 1st Infantry. They are hitting on 2s because there is armor in the defensive. So that's what they get. Hitting on 2s. 1 hit for the Americans. Then the 9th Armor is going to roll 1 die, hitting on 3s. Come on, give us 2. Nope. And again, like I said, I probably would be on the defensive, but I'm not playing beyond turn 19 for this film. And we went big, and it didn't work out. The terrain got to absorb 2 hits, and we had only done, I think, 1 hit. So the terrain absorbed that. Then I'm going to go ahead and mark both of them as activated. And we're going to roll some defensive fire dice back. So we'll start here. 12th Volksgrenadier is hitting on 2s, and they roll 2 dice. 1 hit. This could be bad. This is why we don't ever attack like that. Americans got to play defense till they get units on the board. 3 for the armor. It's a miss. 2 more dice for the infantry, returning fire, hitting on 2s. No hits. So 1 hit is going to be applied. And, oh, you know, it's even worse than that for the Germans. This is elite. So I actually got another reduction. Well, no, it's armor or elite. It's not armor and elite. Let me look. It says for combat, attack modifiers. The attacker includes armor. Oh, it doesn't matter if it's an elite unit attacking. It only matters if there's elite infantry defending, and then it's armor or elite infantry. Okay, never mind. The rolls were legitimate. So we've got to reduce somebody by 1. And I could, well, unless we retreat, this might be okay. We'll retreat, because the river, you can only cross 1 unit across a river, it says, during like a retreat. So we'll have 1 go here, up there, to make Germany earn that one, and they'll fall back here. And that would reduce the hits by 1. So no hits get applied, and I hope that's correct. I think that sounds good in my head. If not, it's a house rule, yo. Goes back to Germany. Oh, Germany has so many spaces. Okay, one strategy I've learned to be very careful with is how spread out you make your forces when you're attacking as Germany, because you activate by space, and every space you activate advances the time marker. And you're going to get to a point where you have more units than you have hours in the day to move troops. I don't think I've hit that point yet, but I've hit that very, very close.
Hey, can't see you.
1 second here. Trying to decide what to do here. Consolidate would be good for the German player to do. We have this group of Americans that I just feel like they just need to stay there. But I also need to take them out, I think. Most of my firepower is up north, and my southern firepower has already pushed on. Well, again, if I was a face-to-face opponent, then I would start hopping. I would go ahead and fall out and leave Echternach, and now just start hopping out, because look at all these empty, luscious places ready to be taken back by the American player. And I don't want that as the German player. What we'll do is bring a unit back. Let's see, where could the roads go? The road goes there. Think like if they did a strategic move, they would be stopped here. They could cross here and go there. We're going to go ahead and move a unit back just to try and encircle this group here a little bit. We have seen, though, in the past when they did try to break out and attack, it didn't go well for them. They might not do a whole lot of movement. They don't have a lot of strength points here, but like I said, they could move out just to capture points, and that would throw us back a little bit. So we're going to pretend that Germany is worried about that, and they're just going to move something to help kind of block them in. That's a time advance. See, that's important now as Germany to think all these little things I do to rearrange troops is actually burning time off the clock when we should be pushing this way. Okay, so the Americans are going to pass. They're going to leave this unit here. I'm just going to forget about them for the 19th. No, I'm not. It's the 19th. Go big or go home. Well, they cross here. I believe that's contested since it has a token on it. And they're going to have to spend their time taking it back. I don't think they can just lightning raid. But they can go up here and say, we take that back. Let me see what it says about unoccupied, or if that's considered contested. because maybe we can move the Americans more. All right, I was trying to clarify in my mind. It has a German control marker, but it's not contested. Contested means that it has, opposing forces. It has Axis and allies in it. This would just be under German control. By moving up, that loses the German control marker, and we could strategically move. Where would we Where would we strategically move? This is where the Americans are going to make a smart retreat back to try and link up so they aren't cut off. That's move 1. Strategic move, they could move here for 2. Because it's not contested or anything like that, they can keep going. And because it's not contested or controlled by enemies, it's okay if they cross the river together. Because my understanding is the penalties to movement kick in if you're going into contested spots when you do a strategic move. One more strategic move by road just happens to take us into Wiltz, which I think we recently just left. Oh, I see Germans here, so we'll just move that marker, control marker there. And the Americans have busted out. They are no longer, not that they were trapped and taking any kind of attrition damage for being down here, but they don't feel left out. They can actually break out now and provide some kind of mobile force to reinforce elsewhere. Germany would have to come back in here to take these, which he could now because he's got a unit down here off camera a little bit. But again, that would take hours, daylight hours for them to do that. All right, we'll say we did that. That's a thing. That is a thing. If the American armor had pushed up more, they could have become encircled and started to take some attrition. So I thought we would just bust them out. We did. Now it goes back to the Germans. See, right now down here, then these folks still can only move 1, and which they'll do. This is a reinforcement point for the Allies, I believe. Now that you've missed that, I'll back up. Rewind. These 2 units are going to go ahead and push up 1. And now they're on C. And I think that is a reinforcement zone there for the Americans. Which means if Americans come in on C, they'll have to come in here. So we'll take it. Yeah, we don't like being chased by American armor, though. So we're going to go up into Wiltz. That's a defensive 3. I don't like Wiltz. All right, we're going to move out of Mersch. That's not a very pretty target for the Americans. I don't think the Americans will go there. This is a pretty target for Germany, but is it? Is it really? For now, no. So we'll go ahead and mark 2 activation cubes. That advances the time. The Allies have no more units on the board to activate, but I do have a lot of German units to activate. They will come across the river to take that back. And we advance the time. I've only got 1 time left. Where am I going to move? I'm going to move the Führerbeg armor here. It's going to go 1 spot into Bastogne. Now you can't stop in Bastogne because it's got its stack of folks. It's going to drive through for its second movement. It could do a strategic move, but I want those units to link up. So they will support one another. And then I advance the German time marker. That's to the end of the turn. All of the units that I could do something with, we've done something with. But I've reinforced this front line a little bit. Let me see if I can lift the camera up. I have a couple units in the back who are playing kind of a home guard and going to recapture some of those captured spots. They really don't need to, honestly, because we've got plenty of supply line here. And I don't want to just push that bulge out too much more until I can kind of bring everything up. But I'm really liking how this looks right now. We have a nice line almost connected. Yeah, there's a thorn here. They've broke it a little bit. But as we go up, we almost have a nice straight line all the way up here to the north. And then we've got some reinforcements on the back side. So overall, this is good. This is good. Looking up, great. And thank you so much for watching. Again, I really appreciate pointing out the mistakes so I can learn. I did get a comment though, if I can find, for the 340th Volks Grenadier. Some people, they even had units that I didn't have. I think, if I remember right, because I didn't write this down going off memory, there was going to be maybe an expansion or something else that used those units that were printed but didn't show up or have use. They may still make a comeback, but I'm guessing if there is any kind of expansion or something later to bulk this out, we would get the counters at that point as well. So for now, I have a 340th Volks Grenadier extra unit. Cool. And final thought, not a game review, but I like to do the playthroughs. I think that gives a better representation of the game if you can see how it's played, because I could tell you what I liked, what I didn't like, but if you just see the game played, I think you can kind of make that decision for yourself. What do you like about the mechanics? What don't you like? But if you were to ask me, it is simple. Not simple as in, not worth playing. I think that if I had this set up, it still could take me a few hours to play all the way through from the very start all the way through December 28th. A lot of the time that I spend playing with you is just like kind of explaining things. I'm thinking out loud to myself. Usually when I play myself without, having commentary, things go quicker. But I could see how I would set this up on a Saturday, spend a few hours playing, and probably get through most of the game. And actually not be upset about that at all. The rules make sense. Again, after thinking it out loud, you all have been amazing. It's almost like you're here with me. And as long as I film about a day or two behind, I get to read comments. And it's almost like having someone here saying, no, dummy, you're supposed to do this. And I think I've learned a lot about the game. Not saying I am a master of it yet and probably make mistakes, but like any game, the more you play, the more you figure it out, the more comfortable you get with the rules. And I am feeling really comfortable with this game. This is the first high-level kind of operational game I've played where you're using divisions. I've gotten a couple, read them, and it just didn't gel. This game gels with me, and I think I would get the play down much, much better, like I said, after a couple more plays. If you were to ask me, would this be a recommendation? I think so. I would definitely recommend this for folks who wanted to get into and learn, like I am, kind of these operational type of games. I didn't even get into the replacements and reinforcements, that aspect of it, that much. But it's not that much more difficult. It's just a couple more things to keep in mind. And the nice thing is, the rules are really succinct. They're really good. Here's a whole spot about the German special rules. The thing is, you just have to pay more attention than I do. I read through it once, but this is my learning process. I read through it once, I have to put the pieces out, and then start playing and catch my mistakes. And I learn from the mistakes. And the book, and this is the thing from the book. Every answer has been in the book. That's actually a really good accomplishment. I have not had to go to Board Game Geek or anywhere else. Anyone who's pointed something out to me with like a page reference, the rule has been spot on to the mistake that I made. I would say that in itself speaks volumes to the quality of the rule book and the rule system. I don't know why this wasn't as successful as a computer game. I guess it wasn't simulation-y enough, and I can see that. I don't think I put activation cubes on all those tanks that moved into Bastogne. Let me get that now. But what are you looking for when you say like simulation-y? It's got supply. I hear there are some games there's like a desert game that they made fun of on Big Bang Theory. I didn't watch the episode, just the clip from YouTube where they're talking about this desert game, and it actually goes down to talking about how like the Italians had a morale hit because they wouldn't get like noodles or something on a day. Just real minutia. This gives you, I think, maybe abstracted, but you do have to worry about supply lines. But it's not overly complicated. And to me, I think that's the important thing. Are you getting those things that you want? Yeah. do you have to worry about the minutia of it. No. They even have that fun fuel mechanic that once I get into will be fun, where you had to start checking for fuel shortage, and you place, and I mentioned this early on in one of the setup videos I did, but you'll place, I'll just do it here, I got 3 armor units right here. You'll place these 3 fuel shortages on these tanks, and then depending on the day, the German player can pull back 2 of those and say, oh no, these actually did have fuel, this one didn't. Abstracted way to simulate some fuel shortage that started to happen later on. And then later, a few more days after that, Allied player places their 3, and then the German player only gets to take back 1. He says, yeah, we're starting to feel the sting of fuel shortage. And they can't attack. It's as if they were out of supply. They're essentially out of supply. They can do defense rolls, but you've stopped those panzers dead in their track, and that was a concern for Germany later on. You know, even to the point where during retreats and things, they just left equipment because they had no fuel to move it anymore. Well, I don't want to ramble on too much. I don't know how long this will be after edits. I just want to say that this is a very good game. I'll play this again for sure. Maybe not on camera so much unless somebody says, yes, we really want to watch it. My plan is to bring this back out in December on camera and play a day-by-day, actual kind of, maybe not live, but, you know, film, day for day, a campaign of this, and just put one up, you know, put the 16th up on the 16th of December and just do a historical matchup through history and see how we do. Which means I'll probably have to play it again before then, just so I get a full feel for the rules. But yeah, this is a keeper. This is not $55 I regret spending at all. I'm surprised it's only, I will say this, I am surprised, okay, let me be very careful how I say this, because I don't want them to be like, oh really, you'd pay more for that? I'm going to say, you know what, I probably would pay more. I was looking at video games, I play a lot of video games, and you want to get a new video game, that's like $70 for a video game sometimes. You know, it could be 50 at times, but I'm telling you, this mounted map board, the counters are a good size, it's a top-notch quality game. I would pay the 60, you know, a few dollars more, but if you told me this had a $60 price tag or a $70 price tag, I'd probably go as high as 70. Okay, so I shouldn't say that. Maybe I'll edit that out. But I'm going to say, though, for the $55 they asked for it, totally worth it in my opinion. Alright, I will leave it at that. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the series. I honestly don't know what I'll film next. I've thought that I will go back to Heroes of Stalingrad, the Flying Pig, not the Flying Pig, the Devil Pig Games version with the big, I don't have this one. I had just pulled the rules back out to refresh myself on it. The only thing on that one that troubled me is the offset grids. But now that I've played it a little bit, read some comments from folks, and reread the sheet, I think I've got the offset grids a little bit more. They actually play quite a bit of importance in the game. And there was also like some Kickstarter exclusive stuff that I want to show off. So I think the next thing I'm going to play will be some Heroes of Stalingrad, intermixed with some Drop Fleet Commander miniatures game. I like space games. We did a little Halo kind of wrap up, but I want to try and get some Drop Fleet Commander out. And no, I will probably not paint those miniatures either, because I'm not a big painter of miniatures. I should be, but I'm not. I have, but I find painting sometimes to be tedious when I want to have like 20 ships on a side, but that means I have to paint 20 ships and make them look good. And then that's per side. Then you got like 40 ships you have to do something with. So painting the ships are not a high priority. I might finish, I'm putting like a black primer on them right now. You might end up ships with a black primer, but we'll see what happens from there. Alright, I'll go ahead and sign this one off. Thanks again for tuning in. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you on the next whenever.